Welcome to Slash City. I'm your host, Slasher Sam, and today we are talking about one of the most iconic, I think we can call it that, slasher franchises, Scream. Of course, the franchise with the classic and the killer that just can't help but getting his ass kicked. Now, this franchise has seen 6 installments up to this point, with the original coming in December of 1996. Like most slasher franchises, the first, of course, is the best of the entire franchise, but when it comes to ranking each installment thereafter, we do bounce around a bit. Now, each one carries its own strengths and weaknesses, whether it be our damsel in distress, side characters, setting, kill style, even killers. And yes, this is where Scream separates itself from the other franchises or iconic slashers. Now, while our killer does don that classic, iconic Ghostface mask and outfit, we do have a different killer or killers with each movie. So we can't simply check that box. Each one is going to have a significant impact on how exactly we rank that film. So with that, let's go ahead and rank these films. Now, just to be upfront, I'm not going off of legacy characters, nostalgia. I just watched these 6 films and I'm going to rank them on my own rankings, no other list, just exactly how I feel after watching each one individually. Let's get started. Number 6, Scream 3. Now it's funny because you just heard me say how I won't be following other people's lists, but 3 does rank at the bottom of just about every list you're going to find out there. But there's a reason for that. It's bad. Now in this one, we're outside of Woodsboro and set in the hills and film backlots of Hollywood. Not ironically enough, on the film set of Stab 3. So we're getting some of our original locations. Kinda. Now I don't mind the setting here. We're only in Woodsboro for 3 of the 6 films, so no big deal there. It also allows Sid to have a moment of reflection in the recreation of her own bedroom and house. Where I begin having issues with this one is the lack of side characters. We can't take any of them seriously, and they're really just lined up for kill fodder. Even if we are returning our core, they killed Cotton Weary in the opening sequence, so our writers have already pre-checked that box of getting rid of a legacy character. No one else is even remotely at risk. Now admittedly, Parker Posey as the staff version of Gale Weathers is kind of fun. She's completely over the top and outslews Gale in just about every scenario.
Here's how I see it. I've got no house, no bodyguard, no movie, and I'm being stalked. Because someone wants to kill me? No, because someone wants to kill you. So now, starting now, I go where you go. That way, if someone wants to kill me, I'll be with you. And since they really want to kill you, they won't kill me. They'll kill you. Make sense?
None.
Now we don't have Randy in this one, or the quote-unquote film nerd trope, to break down how the last installment of a trilogy will go. So instead, we get his younger sister Martha finding her way onto the backlot so she can play a tape of recorded Randy, who shot a video just in case he died, and several years later another killer turned up to kick off the exact same sequence of events. Yeah, gonna call bullshit on this one. Now, red herrings are a staple in the Scream franchise, but this movie is pushing Detective Kincaid way too hard. He's pressing Dewey over and over about Sid's location, uses Dewey's phone that was potentially cloned, has a huge file on Sidney, and the tone changes during every conversation he's a part of, so you can immediately check him off the list. Now, one part I did enjoy about this film was the final exchange between Sidney and our killer, her half-brother Roman. Now, keep in mind this is the only film in the Scream franchise with only one killer. It doesn't necessarily take away from the film, but it is ironic that it is, in fact, the worst film of the franchise. But going back to the final exchange here, it does have some good back and forth banter, but you can really see Sid's over all of this to the point that she basically just commits outright murder. Number 5, Scream 5. This is definitely the one that pissed me off the most. First off, can we stop with the whole naming a film that's not the original the same as the original? We all know it's the 5th. Fucking call it the 5th or the Return or Scream Requel or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Just don't call it Scream. So 5, as you know, sets up our new protagonists and sisters Tara and Sam. Tara being our first girl to survive an opening kill, or I guess we could now say attempted kill. But her friend group in this one just seems way too old for high school. I mean, I do understand it's 20-somethings playing high schoolers in every Scream film, but as soon as I saw this group, I was like, nah. And as they introduce them, we also get some weird random dude just hanging around the high school. Now, apparently he had hooked up with another character, Liv, the past summer, but it's such an out of the place moment. Like the odds of him knowing they would be hanging out right there, and what's he even doing? Then he shows up later at the pool hall for another 3-second exchange before leaving. It's just forced and random. And just randomly enough, though, we find out that he's Stu Macher's nephew. Our other characters here, Mindy and Chad, are Randy's niece and nephew. Wes is deputy turned sheriff Judy's son from Scream 4. And Tara's estranged sister, Sam, is Billy Loomis's daughter. Welcome to Requels, everyone. Now, Sam, who I just mentioned, is the love child of Billy Loomis, but she sees the ghost of Billy throughout this film. This is just the worst, if I'm being honest. It feels like we're watching an episode of Supernatural. It's just so stupid. Sam as a character is actually really great, though. She's probably the bright spot of this film, along with Dewey. Now, Dewey, who's retired now, is older, a little ragged. He's not so bumbling, and he actually, if you listen to him, he actually nails who the killers are right off the bat. Now, his death was actually a really tough pill to swallow. Brushing aside what I'm saying about the writing, I do actually really enjoy the cinematography, and I bring that up here because it's really well done in his kill scene. And let me go ahead and say a couple more positive things before I absolutely shred this film. For one, the stabbings. They are ferocious in this movie. There's no more stab, raise the knife high in the sky, hold, and then another stab. No. And then, as I touched on earlier, the Sam character. She's strong and really a great protagonist to root for. And when she channels her inner Billy at the end and absolutely demolishes Richie, it's got to be probably the best part overall of this film. Now, back to the bad, okay? The hospital scene. What are we doing here? Apparently, Tara is the only person in the hospital because the killer hits all the lights, kills the guard in the hallway, and not another voice is to be heard on the entire floor. Tara sneaks along as she squeals with each movement that she takes. And does this place even have security cameras? I mean, would they not know who entered the hospital and when? Because I highly doubt they slipped in wearing the fucking Ghostface costume. And the kitchen monologue at the end. Dear Lord, I zoned out of this several times. It just kept going and going and going.
Because nobody takes the true fans seriously. Not really. They just laugh at us. And why? Because we love something? How can fandom be toxic? It's about love. They don't fucking understand these movies are important to people.
Dewey had to die to make it real. To show that this wasn't just some bullshit, cash-in, run-of-the-mill sequel.
And lastly, Sheriff Judy and her son Wes's death. This lady is the sheriff, gets on dispatch and says the killer is at her house, everyone converge. She drives home, is murdered in the front yard. Her son gets out of the shower, gets dressed, goes downstairs, runs around from the killer, and is eventually stabbed to death. Over 5 minutes of film time takes place. Not a siren to be heard in the background. Did the writer forget that line? Where are the cops? This movie is ass.
Oh my god, he's making a requel.
Okay, so I think this is where we can kind of draw a line in the sand now, right? While I didn't enjoy the last 2 films, I will say this is where I do enjoy the next 4. But let's go ahead and probably get a little controversial here, but I'm going to go with the 4th best film in the franchise, Scream 2. Now, fans love Scream 2, at least they say they do. Most lists I saw has the sequel as the number 2 film in the franchise, but I think this is based on nostalgia alone. While certainly not a bad film, it's still lacking in a lot of areas and far too copy-paste from the original. In this one, we've got Sid in college, where this time around the killers come in the form of Billy's mom and film student / ambitious serial killer Mickey. This is probably actually my biggest turnoff from this installment. Billy's mom, Debbie, and Mickey just aren't strong killers. She also way overreacts during the final chase and monologue. It's weird and it's a bit uncomfortable.
Scott, and you chased Mickey, and there was a big shootout, a big scuffle, and you shot Mickey. Killed Mickey dead.
And Timothy Olyphant, who went on to have like a 3-year run of being a huge Hollywood get, also kind of underwhelming in this one.
Wait till the trial. It is gonna rock!
Now, being the direct sequel, we also get the core group back for this one. And by killing off Randy halfway through, Scream really established that they were not afraid to eliminate legacy characters. You love to see this, because you never want to feel like specific characters are safe. And to be honest, I wasn't sad to see him go. While an excellent side character in the first, he came off far more annoying in this installment. Now, I'm not going to say Shelley level annoying.
Shirley, why do you always have to be such an asshole?
I beg your pardon. I'm not an asshole. I'm an actor.
Same thing.
But not far off.
It's not. A lot of shit happens at the movies. People get robbed, shot, maimed, murdered. Multiplex is just a very dangerous place to be these days.
Now, from the opening scene to Cece to Randy, the kills are really good in this one. Sid climbing over the killer in the cop car is another intense moment. And Neve Campbell delivering another great performance, establishing herself as a bona fide scream queen. It checks all the boxes, I just never found myself overly excited or engaged in this one. Number 3, Scream 6. Now, Scream 6 takes place in New York City, capturing the old Jason Takes Manhattan vibes. We get our core group back from 5, Tara, Sam, Mindy, and Chad. Mindy is still horribly written. No shade to the actress though, I mean it's certainly not her fault, but I roll my eyes at just about every line she delivers. I do like Chad's character though, probably even a little more so than I did in 5, and he does make an interesting love interest for Tara. I don't hate it. Like 5, we have terrible writing paired with really nice cinematography. I'm typically not a fan of a slasher with a gun, but somehow Ghostface, wielding a shotgun, just kind of works. And Ghostface's mask in this one, they mix it up a little bit. Usually we're used to that same standard mask, but this one's a little more older, a little tattered. It also kind of works. These little nuances over time are a nice mix-up to an established slasher franchise. Differentiate yourself to a degree, but I like the choices. I do think we're getting a little loose in the hip though with these rules discussions. Discussing the rules of a sequel, requel, trilogy, franchise, whatever, although a staple, still needs to feel authentic in the moment. This whole scene was forced and felt incredibly inappropriate considering their friends had been among the victims. And it's basically just fucking Mindy. And with Sydney sitting this one out, Gale is our final legacy character. And given most of our films had led to losing one of those characters, Gale absolutely felt in play to be killed off. Inevitably, she wasn't, but it made her fight with Ghostface that much more tense knowing she very well could. Now let's talk the train scene. Great moment here for 6. Again, tension. I think this is what 6 does really well. You knew Ghostface was on this train, but where and who? And when the time came for him to show himself, I was very happy to see him stab Mindy. I'm sorry. But another installment where I don't really love the killers. What makes up for it though is Sam being such a strong character. It's great to see a protagonist match the killer's intensity. Sam's been here before, it's in her blood, and she owns this moment. Now honestly, I would have loved to see the film end right there with her and Tara sitting on the steps with Red Right Hand playing in the background. It felt right. This film to me just goes one scene too long. We leave that moment there on the stairs and we go outside to find out that just about every other character is still alive. Mindy's fine, Chad's fine, Gale's fine. Well, Jesus, who the fuck died? Overall, though, a really good new age slasher, and it's got me excited about what comes next in the series. Which leads us to number 2, Scream 4. Now, Wes Craven's final contribution to the series is a memorable one. The movie in a movie opening, it's just unique and clever. Scream is of course known for having a bit of fun and understanding its world and its audience. Wes knew this and used it to his advantage here. We also cut away to the title screen with Something to Die For by The Sounds. Great song, great band. We're also back in Woodsboro for this one. Sydney is a bit older but wiser, returning to town for her book release. Gale and Dewey are now married but clearly struggling to find a middle ground between their personalities, and we also have a solid set of supporting roles throughout. In addition to Sid, our other leading lady here is her niece Jill. While Jill is, she's fine, she's not an overly strong character, but not the worst. Her peers bring really strong performances. Her best friend Kirby is sort of a combination of Tatum and Randy, and I'll be honest, I was kind of sold that she was one of the killers throughout. Now, Charlie and Robbie do well in bringing the rest of that film knowledge to the table. Now, Charlie, the head of the film club, is played by Rory Culkin and delivers an excellent performance here. Not only do I like his character and openly root for him to shoot his shot with Kirby, but once he's revealed as one of our killers, I totally bought it. His film nerd gone crazy is so much more authentic than Richie's in the following film. I can also buy these characters as high schoolers. This was something I could not get over in 5, but here Here I think they got it right. That and finding that right balance of meta. The writing in this one is far more clever without beating a dead horse. The exchange with the cops in the car is fun, but it's not too over the top or cheesy.
You know what? I'll take the next perimeter. I'll be right back.
Okay, maybe it's a little cheesy. Now going back to Jill, her character is somewhat forgettable until she's revealed as our other killer. We're back in the kitchen for the killer monologue, naturally a Scream staple, but instead of feeling like, oh, here we go again, I'm more caught up in, honestly, how nuts she is. Throwing herself around the room, then posing the same as a supposedly dead Sid on the ground, really gives us a viewpoint into her madness. I love the reveal to her that Sid's still alive, and then that oh shit moment when it finally clicks with Dewey, that oh, Jill's the killer. I enjoyed this film a lot actually. It had a lot more going for it than just the kills themselves. We get a peek into the world of several characters with multiple subplots, paired with some really great performances. This was actually a layup for me for the second best film. With that, number one, come on. While we can debate the order in which the Scream franchise breaks down by installment, we could do the very same with the original Scream and the greatest slashers of all time. I may do that as a future episode on the Mount Rushmore of slashers, because honestly, this is in that conversation. This film took us out of that straight-to-video era that slashers were in, and thrust the subgenre right back into the limelight. And let's not get it twisted, because that opening kill becomes a staple in the franchise. The opening in the original Scream, phenomenal. It was tense, honestly, very unexpected, and really stopped the audience in their tracks on expectations of what this film was about to be.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
What did you say?
I want to know who I'm talking to.
Is probably one of the greatest oh shit moments in slasher history. The characters, which of course are iconic now, brought such dimension to a subgenre that was typically just giving you a final girl and a group of kill fodder. The bumbling cop, the cutthroat reporter, the film nerd, the jokester friend, also well written and delivered. It has this great balance and awareness of being both mysterious and gory, while also having fun and not taking itself too seriously.
Not your friend.
And there's nothing like having a character in a horror film that is fully aware of every horror movie trope. And this would of course become a staple for this franchise.
Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
And Matthew Lillard's performance here as Stu, probably an all-time performance when it comes to any character in any movie.
Fuck! Did you really call the police?
You missed your sorry ass.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
Each character is likable and it really draws you in. I think at times movie makers get so caught up in the kills, while important, ignore how crucial it is to have characters worth either rooting for or at least enjoying their screen time and not just waiting for the next kill. The reveal at the end, also great. You're usually anticipating one killer, so by providing two, it allows free reign to put one killer in a scenario where you talk yourself out of them being suspected by the audience. It's brilliant. And again, another moment that would become a staple in the franchise, that kitchen monologue. We're not just watching them drone on and on about how they pulled it off, but instead watching them hack each other up in an effort to show that they were actually victims themselves. Okay, I'm excited. I'll calm down, take a breath, take a beat. I will say, if you haven't seen it in a while, take another look at it. It absolutely holds up incredibly well. Fantastic film all around. I will say, had a lot of fun doing this. Had a great time going back, watching the original trilogy again, seeing some of the new installments for the very first time. Loved it. If you enjoyed what you saw here, slash that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. Hit me up in the comments with your ranking yourselves. From Slash City, good night.
You're one microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, designed and directed by his red right hand.